We are on live.
Oh, we're live. Hello.
Hi, everyone. My name is Kiko, and I am here with Bella. Bella, I'm
Hello.
so excited. We've been talking about this podcast for some time, and finally, we are doing it. Today is for our first episode on our series of podcasts. And our topic today, is what is high raw? This is so interesting. And so Bella and I have been discussing this subject back and forth. And I say, why don't we talk about it on our podcast? So here we are. How are you, Bella?
I'm good. How are you? I'm Kiki. I have to apologize. There's a gardener right outside my window, but he's making his way away from the window. So I'm going to mute while you're talking just until he's gone. But I'm good. And I'm
Oh,
super excited to talk
oh, yay.
and do this. Yeah.
I don't hear any background noise.
Good. Okay. So this interface must be really good at blocking out background noise. So excellent. Yeah, I'm super excited to talk about high raw with you. I know that you and I both have a lot of experience with being high raw, and I know I have a lot of opinions on it. I'm sure you do too. So it'll be great to share with people, especially since I know that fully raw can be super daunting for people. I think high raw is a really nice approach, and it also ensures. I mean, I'll let you take the lead. You're in charge here, but I am curious to hear about your experience because I know that you've been doing high raw for a really long time. So, oh, are you muted?
I am muted. Yes, I was muted. Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, my version will be very quick, so I'll share my version. So I've been on a high raw vegan journey over 21 years, and I started doing fully raw when my first experience of being fully raw was in September this year, exactly 21 years ago, and it was such a game changer. High raw to fully raw. I do think everyone should experience fully raw for at least a month. Everyone has a different, feedback of our body and feeling. But yeah, that September 21 years ago was such a huge difference. And then this definition of high raw, I feel like, whole food, plant based, high raw should be, a different category because in during this 21 years of raw vegan journey, there are times that I didn't stick with whole food plant based, and I think it's such an important part of being a healthy, long term raw vegan journey. And I was super interested in your journey because I was interested in Dick and Karen Dina's raw food mastery course, right? And you have completed that,
Mhm.
and Zuzu also, I have connected, and
Mhm.
you both decided to stay high raw, not fully raw. So, I'm super interested in hearing more in detail of why you decided to stay whole food plant based, high raw,
Yeah,
because
yeah,
that's a very expensive course. And this, you know, both Dick and Carindina, they're fully raw. So
yes. Rick and Carandina.
I'm
Yes,
sorry,
yes,
Rick and
close. They are, well, I don't think they're really fully raw. They admit to eating occasionally cooked foods. It's not like they eat cooked foods every single day, but they're very flexible. Like occasionally they'll go to like an Indian restaurant or, they're like that kind of raw. Like they're mostly fully raw, but they're very comfortable with the idea of maybe eating a steamed sweet potato every now and then. I remember hearing them talk about that in class, and I was very impressed with their honesty. That
oh
was one of the things that I liked about them.
yeah, I know. I they might have gone through like a different phase. I know that they have gone through like fully raw, and maybe that's the video that I saw.
Okay.
But anyway, yeah, that's
I
very interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what they're like right now. Maybe they're 100% fully raw, maybe. I mean, they are as raw as you can get, really, in a real world sense. I think that the reason why, well, there are many reasons. There are many parts to my journey. Like you, I've been raw for a long time. I'm in my 11th year. And I agree with you. I think that fully raw is a worthy goal to accomplish for a period of time. I think it's good to experience that high commitment level of taking in. And first of all, I want to just kind of real quickly define what this means, because I was inspired to remember to do that because somebody I know who is curious about watching this podcast is new to vegetarianism. So I sometimes forget because I have been a vegan for like 25 years. I mean, maybe even 30. I think I'm actually closer to 30 years. I've lost track at this point, but I was a vegetarian first. And I sometimes forget that there are baby steps that people take. And some people don't even really understand what a vegan is, which I think is surprising, but it does exist. And so, real quick, if you don't mind, I thought I could maybe just define these terms.
Yes, please.
Okay, so when we say vegan, we're talking about somebody who doesn't eat any animal products. So no dairy, no eggs, no fish sauce at the Thai restaurant, no seafood.
Very important that
Very
part.
important. I've ordered at Thai restaurants in the past, and I'm thinking to myself, did I forget to say no fish sauce? You know, yeah. So it's actually it's quite detailed. A lot of people who call themselves vegan don't eat honey. That's kind of an interesting hot topic in the vegan world because there are some people who call themselves vegans who eat honey, and then there are vegans who hate those people. So it's like it can get really crazy. But the idea is that you don't eat anything that came from a living sentient being, essentially. That's like the best definition I can think of. And then there are these people who are technically vegan. They don't eat any of that stuff, but they call themselves plant-based, which is I to me it's like the same thing. I was formed in the world where vegan was the only term. So this whole plant-based versus vegan thing annoys me to no end. But the way people online differentiate it is that the plant-based eater is somebody who is 100% in it for the health, whereas the vegan is in it for the we don't want to harm animals kind of thing. Right? Are you in agreement with my definitions?
Loving it. Yeah, definitely.
Okay. Okay, and then raw. Okay, here we go. Here we go. The topic of our podcast. A raw vegan is somebody who doesn't eat any animal products and doesn't heat their food above temperature. It varies between person to person, but basically no hotter than the sun would heat your food. So if you think about a hot day in California, we can get up to like 111 degrees, 112 degrees in the desert. Any hotter than that, and we're going to start to have some like a crisis on our hands. Like we're going to struggle to thrive in any environment hotter than that. So if we can thrive in an environment that goes up to 112 degrees, then our food can survive. All the nutrients can stay intact. And so that's what a raw vegan is. We're trying to preserve as many nutrients as possible by not using heat at a level that destroys the nutrients.
That's a very interesting definition. I always thought that, compared to our body temperature, so if we, if we have a fever and if it gets to certain temperature, our body cannot survive for a certain period of time. So that's how I refer. But yeah, thank you. And I also wanted to say that 21st Century joined vegan. JJ has joined. They'll say hello.
Hello.
Yeah, and Jennifer Diamond mentioned, well, she joined on Instagram. She said, wonderful topic. Yeah. The-
Thank you for joining us, everybody. It's so fun when we have other people here, and
yeah.
I love talking about this stuff. It was so fun to be here with you, Kiko, and have other people here. And okay, so high raw, I'll mention the high raw definition, and then I'll share with you a little bit about why I ended up really more in that direction. So high raw is, well, like you said, and this is part of the reason why we're having this discussion, is because we could really define it in different ways. It essentially means that anywhere from 75 to 95% of your food is raw, vegan, raw, and then the rest of that percentage is cooked. And you could have absolutely no guidelines on that. It could just be cooked, any vegan food, right?
Mhm.
Or as raw foodists tend to be more of the health oriented variety of vegan. So, what people online like to call plant based, which I refuse because it's just too, I can't do it. It's too clunky. But
I
I'm
think
also,
I think those are the one who who got fed up with this vegan fight,
Mhm.
in between. Like, yeah. Anyway, yeah, plant based is someone. I think plant based is more of people who they might wear leather, but they might do it for diet purpose.
Yeah, it does make sense. It totally makes sense. I'm just like stubborn because like I said, when I started being a vegan, it was like still the 90s. So it was like nobody knew what a vegan was. And then when this term plant-based came around, I was like, I'm not doing it. I know I'm not a perfect vegan. I'm not. I do care very much about animals, and it's initially why I became a vegan, but I'm not perfect. I do my best. And so sometimes I feel that pressure of like, well, maybe you should call yourself plant based. It's like, well, no, I'm really trying my best here.
Yeah. Anyway, this definition changes because plant-based here in Japan doesn't mean plant-based in California per se.
Oh,
Like plant-based, if I buy a plate that says plant-based lunch plate, they could very well add fish or like pork sauce. Like
oh,
yes, yes. Yeah, it's and also raw vegan. Like when I started 21 years ago, you are either 100% raw vegan or you're trying to be raw vegan, right? There's no, and now this, like few years ago, I looked at the definition of raw vegan. It says, I think it was Wikipedia. It says, raw vegans are someone who is eating raw vegan food more than 80% or 85%. And I think recently it was like 75%. Like, it's changing, and I don't know, it's okay. The definition, there is certain, there is definition, but it changes. So you make up your own rule, basically.
I agree. I think it's actually a good sign that things are becoming more flexible because like you, when I first heard about raw veganism, it was around 2004. And that was when the hardcore raw vegans were in charge. And they did not like it if you called yourself a raw vegan and you even occasionally ate some cooked food. Like it was almost of a religious nature in some ways. And I remember thinking, oh, I remember thinking I have a hard enough time maintaining this vegan thing. Like I can't possibly stop cooking my food. And that was a very much a turn off for me. And so I enjoy this flexibility, this relaxed mindset that people are starting to have about what it means to be raw. So, okay, so the high raw definition. So you and I want to discuss what does it mean to be high raw? Like I said, you could be 75 to 95% raw, and the rest of that you include any cooked vegan food you want. Or since since I think we're in agreement that a lot of raw food is the raw food mindset is philosophical in a lot of ways. So you have your raw vegans who are 100% moralistic and animal rights activists, 100%. But you also have your raw vegans who while they care about animals, it's not their main objective. Their main objective is really their personal health. Like my health is what matters more than my sweet little dog. I love my dog. Actually, her health I care about the most than anybody. But you know what I mean. Like animals, yes, I care about animals very much, and I want to do what I can to help their situation. But my main motivation for following this lifestyle is for my health. I'm focused on that, and so
Right.
there's a health philosophy involved. And so when I talk about being high raw, I'm talking about being careful to not cook over a certain degree. I'm still using the same philosophy.
That's very interesting. Yeah. So
Yeah,
like no pressure cooker or
I don't own a pressure cooker. I don't really even know how to use one. How hot does a pressure cooker get?
I don't know.
I don't,
I don't own it either.
I have no idea, but I will tell you. So, because we mentioned, you mentioned Dr. Rick and Karen's class. And this is really before I took the class, I was thinking I had that pressure on me of got to be fully raw, got to get to fully raw. That's the only way to be healthy. And so I was really making an effort to do that, which was very good for me. Very good to, like you were saying, to have that aspiration to experience fully raw. It was awesome. But one of the things I learned in their course is I learned about, we actually studied cooked food nutrition. We actually studied the nutrition involved in what happens when you boil, steam, fry, grill, roast, bake. And it's different. The temperature matters. So even when you're cooking your food, if you go above boiling temperature, that's where you start to run into issues, problems, really. Oh, you're muted, Kiko.
Yeah, sorry about that. I just checked the pressure cookers standard. Okay, standard stove top pressure cooker usually reach burns 100 Celsius or 212
Oh,
Fahrenheit
okay.
to about 121 Celsius or 250 Fahrenheit.
Okay.
Electric pressure cooker, like Instant Pot, it could go from 200 around 240 Fahrenheit. So
Okay. It's not so bad. It's not really. So let me check out some of these comments real quick, and then I'll get back on this. So 21st Century Homestead, I like your name, by the way. That's a cool handle. I was told plant-based individuals still eat animal foods, just not the main part of their diet. That's why they say vegan plant. Oh, I didn't know that. But I can.
yeah, I think it depends. Some people who used to call them vegan, but I do agree. Most people when they claim that they're plant-based, they do eat fish and but they're mindful. Like they try not to
Okay.
eat animal food on for their health. But I do see majority do tend to. But it depends on where. Like California, they're more mindful, more conscious, I think.
Hmm.
Here, like I said, here in Japan, plant-based means nothing. They're so far from veganism.
That's interesting. I have known people who call themselves plant-based who are they're the types to kind of go back and forth between eating meat and not eating meat. And they don't really seem to have like a strong moral conviction, which I think makes it easier to give up meat. I think if I didn't have that concern about, I cannot I cannot handle the thought of eating an animal. I have very strong opinions about it, strong feelings. I don't talk about it publicly, and I don't even really talk about it privately with people I know because they are very strong opinions. And I don't really want to create conflict with people. So I think that having that moral conviction is what makes it so easy for me to be a vegan all these years.
Totally. Yeah. If without it, like I would not be able to stick it. So I was raw that's what JJ was saying. That she started saying, I'm a raw inspired vegan, right? And
Mm,
in the beginning of my journey of being raw vegan, I thought that I would never eat but you know, the society is not vegan, majorities. And I was working in overseas and a lot of business travel. So, um, yeah. And then sooner or later, I realized like, I'm including more seafood in my diet because it's just very difficult when I travel. But now, even if it's super difficult when I travel, I make sure that I am vegan because I, with moral reason, I just cannot. Like once you cross that, once you understand that line,
yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, I'm with you. I come at food nutrition from a very philosophical standpoint. I think I overthink everything. And so I think about, I don't know. I mean, I don't really need to go into it. Anybody listening to this is probably on the same page. I just can't do it. I can't. And in the moments in my life where we've all had those moments where we've accidentally eaten something.
yeah,
Oh God, those were bad moments for
yeah,
me internally, not physically. Like people seem to think that you're going to have a physical crisis if you accidentally eat animal products. That's never happened to me, but the internal emotional spiritual crisis that goes on in me in those moments, it's like
yeah.
just it's awful.
Oh yeah, I know. We've all gone through this.
Yeah.
But maybe I stick. This topic is very wide. We can go on for hours. But to focus on this, what is high raw vegan diet is. Um, yeah. Do you wanna add like the perspective of nutrition because you have taken this very intense. Like, is it 1 year course by Rick and Karandina, right? And you have studied the science behind it.
It's 1 year course and it goes very in depth in all kinds of topics. It's really a great course for anybody who wants to live their life this way. It cleared up all kinds of confusion because with the raw world there are so many different schools of thought. There are some people who believe in high fruit lifestyle, some people who are try to eliminate as much fat as possible, some people who do kind of like a pretty high fat, and then there are people who are like me who are more like greens based. I'm really more of like a greens based, and I'm more of like a savory raw vegan. I do eat quite a bit of fruit, probably more than the average person, but the majority of my calories come from greens and savory foods, which is why I include cooked beans. So let's talk about the cooked foods that I think are perfectly acceptable on a high raw vegan diet for somebody who is 100% concerned about health and healing and prevention and that kind of thing. So one of the things you learn about is at which temperature does the food become a little risky. So in raw food philosophy, the idea is that you don't use any heat above between 90 to 112 degrees, depending on which school of thought you come from. And the idea is that way you don't kill any of the nutrients and you don't kill any of the enzymes, which is totally valid. It makes perfect sense. And if you can live your life like that, it's amazing. It's really incredible and I highly recommend it. But for some people, it's just not possible. Like you were mentioning, traveling. Sometimes some people just can't get satiated on that. And so, temperatures where the food is still really safe to consume is below boiling point. So, you're mentioning the pressure cooker, it goes up to like 240 degrees. I believe it's been a while, but I believe that's a little bit above boiling point. So, the reason why it's not really a problem is for two reasons. depending on how long you let it sit in that temperature, and we're talking about a water-based heat supply. So steaming and boiling, these are the safest cooking methods. First of all, you don't lose any water content in your food.
Mm-hmm.
Fry, grill, bake, that high temperature pulls the water out and you lose a lot of water. And so what you've done is you've made it harder on your body to digest the food. You've made it more difficult. So, and it's dehydrating because now your body has to pull from its own natural water stores to process that baked potato. Whereas if you steamed the potato or boiled the potato, you'd still have a lot of water in the food.
Right.
So you're going to digest it just fine. And in terms of nutrient content, though, you will lose some vitamins. But if you only steam it for a short period of time, so let's say you're steaming broccoli, and you could probably do that in less than 7 minutes, I think, and still get a pretty desirable product, that would be enjoyable to eat. You're going to lose some of the vitamin C, but you're not going to lose all of it. The vitamins, some of them will go away, some of it will stay intact. The minerals are interesting because minerals never get destroyed. So heat doesn't destroy minerals at all, but the minerals will leach out into the water. So steaming broccoli will cause some of the calcium to come out. It'll go into the water, and so you won't be consuming that. But if you were to make a broccoli soup and you were to consume the water that it was cooked in, you would get all of the minerals. The minerals would not be destroyed. You would still lose some of the vitamins. You would still lose some of the vitamin C and anything else that's in there. Some of it would be destroyed, but you wouldn't lose a ton. And you would want to balance it out with some raw food. You would just want it to be like a small percentage of your diet, and that way you still get the benefits of raw food. So the next element is cooked food toxins. But before I talk about that, Kiko, do you have any questions or you want to say anything to that?
Yeah, I was just checking about raw broccoli and steamed broccoli. And Dr. Brooke Goldner, who is famous for Goodbye Lupus, she mentioned that new study what is it that it's important in broccoli? So all the crucified vegetable, there's something important. I forgot the name of it. The nutrient is almost gone when you steam, even if you just lightly steam it. And I have to get that data, but I just wanted to mention that it's. She says that I mean, if you're trying to get something important from that broccoli nutrient, like you do, she encouraged you to eat the raw broccoli. But anyway, yeah, just wanted to mention.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember. It's not sulforaphane, right? I'm trying to remember I know what you're talking about. The cruciferous vegetables contain some incredibly important nutrients, and you're right. You lose a lot of things. You lose enzymes when you heat it as well. So you are making a sacrifice when you heat your food. But the way I like to think about it is, okay, so somebody, Vegan Knowledge actually just asked about beans and lentils. So this is a great question because what I want to say is I cannot eat lentil sprouts. I hate them. I tried. I can't eat sprouted chickpeas. I tried. I tried to sprout beans. I tried so hard. I wanted to be a good raw vegan. And I got to a point where I just wouldn't eat them. And so you have to ask yourself, I think personally, beans are so important for the diet. I'm not willing to give up the nutrition that comes in beans, and I'm not willing to sprout them. So you have to decide, is it more important that I define myself as a fully raw vegan, or do I just cook the chickpeas and put them on my salad and or cook the lentils and
It's so important. This part is so important, and more power to you, Bella. I'm currently trying this year. I'm currently trying the fully raw vegan phase, but I'm thinking that I will be adding beans or even like starchy things, like sweet potato into my salad
Mhm.
because like you have and yeah, I'm mindful of like this definition of being fully raw. It's not important to me. Like my goal is to be vegan
Mhm.
and feel amazing. So fully raw vegan is one of the way for me to become, to feel better. But yeah, uh, so I like your approach on, are you just abandoning certain foods? Like I also sprouted beans, and here in Japan because it's humid, especially during the summertime, humid and hot, and it just goes bad. Even if I rinse quite a few times during the day, it just goes really bad, and then the taste is completely different.
Mhm.
I do sprout beans. I would freeze them and make a patty out of it because I just don't like the sprouted beans. And
Mhm.
yeah, and also where I get the calories and nutrient. If I don't get those nutrition from beans and starches, I would have to rely on fruits. And then recently, this year, I started to notice like if like very like lots of fruits and very super sweet fruits, it would irritate my skin or have like negative impact. And I think I would be better off cooked beans or steamed potatoes.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. And so the same thing goes with broccoli. Like I can eat raw broccoli. Some people have a hard time digesting raw cruciferous vegetables like broccoli or cauliflower, and it's easier on their system to just steam it. And then in terms of the nutrients that you get from cruciferous vegetables, that need to be raw, there are other ways to get them. You can juice, like you can juice kale. Kale is a cruciferous vegetable. You can juice it, or you can put it in your smoothie. The blending action is like a pre-digested, and so it's easier on the system.
Mm-hmm.
Or my favorite way to get these nutrients raw is through sprouts and microgreens. So I love kale sprouts, broccoli sprouts. I'll buy those and I'll just put them on my salad. And that's actually like the best way to get them if you think about it.
True.
Because, excuse
Hmm.
me,
I love that taste as well.
yeah, it's mild. And the sprout form or the microgreen form is actually more potent than the mature counterpart. It has the most life force. So we should be eating sprouts anyway. And
Hmm.
I think that they're a good way to get certain nutrients in foods that you don't really like. Some people really do not like the flavor of all cruciferous vegetables. It's that like sulfur content that
Hmm.
turns people off. And I totally understand that. And so I always try to point them in the direction of kale or broccoli microgreens.
Do you sprout them at home or?
I don't. I buy them at the store, but they're easy to grow if
Mhm.
you have that, if you have the space and you have the time and you're willing to do that.
Right.
They're really easy to grow. Yeah. And you save so much money when you do that. But
And
I've
plastic.
sprouted out. Sorry, what?
And the plastic.
Oh yeah, that's that too. And it's
That
just
that yeah.
efficient in your house with your energy. Yeah.
That's the only part. I do buy that time to time because I said here it's a bit difficult to get the perfect sprout like the one that I buy at in a supermarket.
Mhm.
But yeah, I buy them, and but the plastic bulk is very annoying.
It is annoying. I take them out immediately from the store and I put them in mason jars.
No, nice.
And it actually makes them last longer because they're airtight.
Hmm.
because they go bad so fast, if especially if they have air coming into the container. So I found putting them in mason jars and sealing them up really tight and putting them in the fridge, they last like a whole week.
Oh, wow, interesting.
Yeah.
Oh,
I feed David's sprouts and microgreens all the time. That's my way of getting him, because he's not like you and me when it comes to our hardcore philosophy. That's my way of trying to sneak in as much nutrition.
yeah, I have to do a bit of yeah, work around with my husband as well because he gets turned off by this raw vegan food.
Yes.
Yeah. Do you want to comment on Homestead's question? How about grains like rice? Should we just stay clear of grains?
I have to admit I don't have super strong opinions about grains. I know they're quite controversial. Um, I definitely think that whole grain is better than like a refined grain like a white rice, which has had the fiber removed. So I think if you're going to eat grains, it should be its whole form. So whole, like a brown rice or quinoa, um, or millet. Um, Personally, for me, I don't eat them that often because I feel like I gain weight when I start to eat too much of them. And I can't explain why. I'm not an expert on grains by any means. But I know that they do contain certain minerals and vitamins that we really need, like zinc is rich in a lot of grains. So I will eat grains occasionally because I feel like there are nutrients in there that I need and are helpful.
Oh, that's super interesting. You know what I did last year? For like this year not, but last few years, I've been experimenting um, enzyme activated rice. So basically, well, so I said that I don't have a bread pressure cooker, but I don't have an instant pot, but I do have a pressure cooker, and I cook the whole rice. So I sprout the brown rice.
Mm,
I cook them in a pressure cooker, and I let it uh, ferment or
mm,
activate the enzyme. So I
huh,
put it in a rice cooker. Just keep the temperature around like 100 Fahrenheit. So
mm.
so yeah, it's a fermentation process.
Wow.
Yeah, you wait for 3 days, and then it just becomes much easier to eat.
Wow.
Because, yeah, and it's popular for like macrobiotic people. They like doing that. And so you cook it with azuki beans. So you need to cook it with a whole beans, like it could be a whole lentil.
Okay.
And azuki bean is a little more difficult to digest. So I used to cook it with the a whole lentil, and yeah, it becomes really soft.
Hmm.
So I loved it for a certain period of time, but I've noticed also gaining weight and also heavy, and it's much more difficult to control. So you have to be very, very mindful of just adding a little bit with your big bowl of green salad. So
Mm.
I stopped because I was just feeling heavy. I was gaining weight around my waist, you know. So and for people who is weak on digestion, they don't recommend eating brown rice. So
Mm.
brown rice seems to be a very healthy choice. But if someone is eating, has been eating raw vegan diet, clean diet, and if they eat the brown rice, it will be very hard to digest. So they actually recommend white rice. So it all depends, right? There's a nutrition. Of course, it's better to eat raw sprouted beans or raw broccoli. But if
Mm.
you're completely excluding it from your diet, you might be missing out the very important nutrient. So it's better, it's better to enjoy your food first and
Yeah.
a bit of that nutrition with the cooked form.
I agree. And sometimes it's just easier to cook some brown rice. Soaking it is a great idea. Thanks for that reminder. I actually thought about three grains that I am very comfortable with preparing raw, which I don't have any problems with eating these grains raw in the raw form. They don't cause me to gain weight like cooked brown rice does if I eat it too often. The three grains that I love to eat raw are wild rice, and I soak that in I put in the dehydrator. I learned that method from Mimi Kirk. And what you do is you put it in the mason jar, put like a cup of wild rice in the mason jar and fill it with water to the top and seal it closed. Put it on its side in the dehydrator. And at like, I go to 110 degrees in my dehydrator, turn it on and let it sit for like, my dehydrator works pretty quickly. So around 7 to 8 hours, I have bloomed wild rice.
Oh, interesting.
Really good. I love it on my salads, especially when I do like a vinaigrette style dressing.
Oh, yeah.
It's so good. And it's really high in zinc. That's one of the reasons why I like to consume it often. And then the other two grains are buckwheat, and millet is a new one I discovered recently. I actually started doing this during the beauty food series that I recently published because I was trying to figure out how to get some more grains into my diet, because there are, like, zinc especially is a very important beauty food mineral, and it's adequate on a raw vegan diet, but it's, if you're trying to like hack into your beauty system, you need a little bit more, just a little bit more. So you soak buckwheat overnight and then drain the water. It becomes quite gelatinous. So you don't have to stress out about getting it all out. Just like drain the excess water and put it on a dehydrator sheet. And you can dehydrate it like that until it becomes soft, or not soft, crispy. You can also season it with like cacao powder or cinnamon, and it makes like a cereal. It's like eating a cereal. It's so good.
Yeah, I recently tried that for the first time,
Yeah.
sprouting it, and
Mhm.
it's so good. Like it, when you dehydrate it,
Yeah.
it's like a pop.
Yeah.
It's crunchy.
Yeah. Millet is the same way. I did the same thing with millet. That took, actually, no, I sprouted the millet first. So I soaked the millet and then I had to sprout it like in a sprouting jar, I did that for like 3 days. So that was a bit more of a commitment. Then I dehydrated it and it
I
became,
never knew that you can sprout millet.
yeah, yeah. And quinoa, you can do the same thing. I just haven't done that in a while, but you can do the same process with quinoa where you soak, sprout, dehydrate, and then you get like a crunchy cereal.
Those are so wonderful. It's just time consuming, right?
It is. It is. Okay, we have a few comments, and then I should talk about cooked food toxins. Um, I have so wanted to try the enzyme rice with black eyed peas. Oh, what you were saying, Kiko. Yeah, I want to try that method too. That's very cool. I've never heard that before.
Yeah, you come visit me and I'll cook it for you.
I will one day. I want to so badly. I'm very curious about Japan, and just to see you too would be awesome.
Yeah.
Dehydrate. I have an Excalibur. I have the large one.
Me too. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
so
great.
great.
Yeah.
I started with one of the smaller Excaliburs, and that was great too. But there's something about the large one. It's like, I don't know. I don't know. Did you ever have a small one?
I had a small one when I was living in this very small apartment. It was making so much noise because it was a studio. So I sold it quickly, and I didn't own dehydrator until like 2 years ago. I was doing no dehydrated stuff for 21 years. Yeah,
That's impressive.
almost 20 years. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Wow, I used my dehydrator so much when I started out because I was trying to mimic a lot of the foods that I had eaten before. I was definitely like, I definitely come from a background of comfort food eating ways. So I had to recreate all the foods, but now I'm more like how you just described. I don't really use it that often.
Yeah, you become a lot more creative with this dehydrator. I use it a lot for my restaurant. I like to add something interesting so that they don't think, oh, I mean, I can make it at home,
Yeah.
kind of attitude. But yeah, I use it a lot for dehydrating like bananas or walnuts. Walnuts, I taste the difference if I soak it and dehydrate it in my dehydrator. So
Mhm. We should do a whole episode on the dehydrator and
yeah.
also the topic of the buckwheat, the millet, and I have all these other hacks I do that
Mm,
I use my dehydrator for a lot of like nutritional hacks. Like I
mm.
don't really make recipes with it anymore. I use it for making like enzyme powders, which I can we should talk about.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
that's one of my new obsessions is parasites and trying to prevent them like with certain enzymes. And I've been doing a lot of research, which when my blog series starts up again, I'll be talking about that. But yeah, we should do like a whole episode on nutrition hacks. I think there's some really valuable information,
Yeah, super excited for that.
everybody. But before we get to the end of the hour, because I know you have another podcast to do, which is amazing, and I have to do
Yeah.
my music work. Cooked food toxins. So this is really important to understand because even though all the philosophy of raw food, maintaining a temperature below 110 degrees is fantastic information, and I think worthy of being the bulk of your philosophy, your food philosophy. If you feel like you're missing out on the cooked foods, or if there are certain foods you just can't stomach raw, or you just want to eat some cooked food, you can be wise and stick to steaming and boiling, and for a short period of time. Short. The longer you put that high heat on your food, the more nutrients you're going to lose. So steam as short of time as your palate will allow. Boil, same thing. Now, cooking, because sometimes you're going to go to a restaurant or sometimes you're going to go to a party and there won't be anything to eat except for maybe some cooked food and you don't want to go hungry. I think it's better to be informed. So maybe you do eat something grilled. Fine. Like you're doing everything right most of the time. Your body's going to be fine. But there's a reason why you might want to reconsider making grilled vegetables a regular part of your diet. And that's because when you cook your food above boiling point, but really like it's really high temperatures we're talking about. So whenever we roast or bake, we're usually at 350 degrees minimum. Sometimes we go all the way up to 400 degrees. What happens is cooked food toxins begin to form. It's when you have the sugar in food and the fat content. So every food contains both. Every food contains carbohydrate, which is sugar, and fat. And so at a high temperature, these things begin to merge into something quite nasty for your system. And terms like acrylamide, you may have heard, AGEs, which stands for advanced glycation end products, and there are a couple more I'm blanking on.
There's also carcinogen, which is very
Yes.
important factor.
Yes, and that's essentially what we're talking about here. So these things are carcinogenic, meaning when we talk about carcinogenic, we're normally talking about smoking cigarettes or inhaling smoke from a fire. That is what forms on the food. And these things, like I said, if you go to a restaurant one night and you typically don't eat that stuff, you can counteract it actually by ordering a green salad, like order a raw green salad, and it will help balance out the toxic effects. But even if you don't, like really, it's not a big deal. Your body will be fine. But if you were to start eating that on a regular basis, like I remember when I was first starting out as a vegan and I had absolutely no idea what nutrition was, and I just didn't want to eat animals. And so I was eating whatever was vegetable based. And I remember having health problems and being so confused, like why am I getting sick if I'm not eating any meat? It's like, well, okay, if you are eating high temperature cooked food, like frying your food in oil, like when you put a lot of high temperature on fat, which is all oil is 100% fat. That's one of the that's one of the most toxic substances you can put in your body.
Which is usually the only option here in Japan. If you go for vegan food, if you're lucky enough to find a vegan food, it's always with the deep fried tofu or whatever, you know.
Yeah, exactly. Because it's palatable. There's there's a great book for any nutrition nerds watching this. There's a great book called The Pleasure Trap. And it's all about how restaurants and food companies hook you by prioritizing 3 flavors in your food: sugar, salt, fat. And the fried foods are high in fat, they're loaded with salt. And if it's a vegetable based dish like potato, French fries, there's the sugar from the carbohydrates that come out. And so that's why when you eat a French fry, it's impossible to not eat more after that. Because in your brain, it's the same place that where like a dopamine hits from a drug. You get the same charge in your brain and you want more and more and more and more. Like I said, like one night is not going to hurt you, but when you start making those foods a regular part of your lifestyle, you might start to see your skin break out, you might start to notice you gain some weight, you may have whatever else your body tends to do when it's not doing 100% well. So when I talk about an ideal high raw diet, I'm talking about a diet that is primarily based on raw foods, vegetables, greens, fruit, nuts, and seeds, with a little bit of boiled beans, chickpeas, you know? Steamed tofu if you want. Some people are against tofu because it's like a processed food, but I like tofu. So I like to include a little bit of it in my diet every now and then.
What's the name, the author by of this book that you mentioned, Treasure Trap? Because I was trying to search it and I was getting different results.
Let me see. It's gold something. Here it is. Goldhammer. Alan Goldhammer.
Oh, of course, yeah, the
True North.
right.
Yeah, the True North guy. Yeah.
I was thinking like I kept hearing this book title so all over. Yeah, you have read that?
Yes, it's really good. And actually, we did a whole unit on it in the nutrition course. It was
Nice.
Dr. Rick knows him because he works with the True North Center. And when I read that book, it really changed my perspective long term for the better, made it easier for me to know with confidence which cooked foods were healthy for me and which ones I might want to live greatly.
Cool. I will add that link into my YouTube description. Cool.
Hmm. Yeah. So, what should we talk about next before we wrap up? We've got just a few minutes left.
Maybe next topic, or should we? Yeah. Well, we should wrap up. So, what is high raw means? I think you come up with your own definition because this definition changes. But I was super interested in what Bella does, because Bella, if you haven't subscribed to her email, definitely do that. She's got a lot of free contents, right? And her Instagram posts are always so beautiful. This graphic on YouTube and Instagram It's what Bella has prepared. So I love that design that she
Thank you.
come come out. And yeah, it's so interesting from like your conscious high raw vegans because um, there are convenient high raw vegans, meaning that they they like this high raw vegan lifestyle, but when they go out, they eat whatever, even like French fries or you know
Yeah.
uh,
Yeah.
so so
Yeah, it's interesting. I try. I think that long term, if you're just gonna eat whatever, like why even call yourself a raw vegan? Like you're just a vegan at that point who eats a lot of salad, maybe. You know, but I call myself a raw vegan because I believe in the philosophy of raw food, and I'm trying to be fully raw every day, actually. But I just have this, I don't know, it's this part of my life where I just don't feel like I can be healthy without including beans a few times a week, you know? Like that's really my big thing is I won't give up beans and I won't eat sprouted beans. That's the only reason.
this is great though because y- you've got a beautiful skin, you look fantastic, you know, very beautiful hair as well. You're very conscious, and it opens up my spectrum, like all of being a high raw vegan. And this year, again, I think as it gets colder here in Japan, I am going to be mindful of adding cooked food, and especially my high season of being an interpreter and guide. So I have to be with one client for like whole entire week, and I have to be very mindful of what I eat. And that I've shared already with Bella on restaurant choices that there are some vegan choices, but I don't know if I want to eat that deep fried stuff, along with rice. Like, when you're being so conscious for such a long period of time, like, my approach of being high raw vegan this year would be completely different from last year. Last year was more of a convenience. So say, oh, it's okay. Like, let me do the detox, like green juice or green smoothie for certain period of time. And yeah, it's a journey, we.
And there's something valuable to going through that as well. You get to know for sure what feels better in your body. You
Mhm.
know, I go through periods of like I like your term, convenience high raw. I like that because that's exactly what it is. And I go through phases like that. Like I've been in the middle of a move. I've been moving my life for the last 6 weeks. I have definitely pulled some convenience choices. Okay, and I hate it. And I want to go back to my conscious high raw lifestyle. I do not feel good, or I don't feel like the ultimate level of what I know I'm capable of feeling right now
Mm.
because we have to go through those phases. But I
Mhm.
think it's good to know that, like, okay, I'm aware that I'm going to get back on track with what I know feels best in my body. If I do this long term, if I do this convenience thing long term, I will run into health problems. So
Mm.
I want to stop it as soon as I can and get back on track with my huge salads and which I live near a Trader Joe's now. Do you have Trader Joe's in
Yeah.
Japan?
No, we don't. I don't think we have it here, but I know. Yeah.
You know, Trader Joe's is the most amazing place when you're going through a stressful time. And, like I get the like huge bags of pre-made salads, which have like roasted sunflower, like all the stuff I wouldn't normally eat, like roasted sunflower seeds and the dried cranberries, which I know has sugar on it. And I normally would not do that. And I skip the dressing. I do my own dressing, but it's still like there's a convenience factor here because I'm going through a time right now. So
Yeah.
I hear what you're saying.
That's pretty good though. I wouldn't have that beautiful option. I would be very happy to take that option if I'm traveling with my client.
You're right. It is very helpful. So before we say goodbye, I'm just going to say real quick a little cheat sheet list of things to keep in mind. So high raw means large amount of raw food, which includes some cooked food that has been steamed and boiled. And we want to try to limit anything cooked at high temperatures, grilled, roasted, fried, baked. You know, you want to give yourself some grace every now and then, but we want to try to not make that, if we are a high nutrient dense minded high raw vegan. That's the principle we want to live by.
I love your hacks as well. So in the next episode, maybe we can go into it. So we'll share when it's our next podcast and
Yeah.
our topic. And thank you everyone for joining. And thank you, Bella. You know, you just moved back to LA. You're
Yeah.
perfectly well. Perfectly in, settled. It looks like you've got a beautiful place.
Getting there. We're almost there.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for accepting to do this in this busy time.
This is so much fun. I'm so glad that we got to do this. And I want to say thank you to everybody who listened, who watched, who made comments. I can't tell you how fun it is to talk about raw food nutrition with a lovely person and have other people. I mean, this is like in my life, my normal life. My blog is Raw Vegan No Friends because I live a very like solitary existence in terms of being a raw vegan in my real life. So this is such a treat for me.
Yeah, it's so much fun. Yeah, I'm looking forward for the next next one. So thank you so much, Bella. Thank you, everyone, and I'll see you soon.
Okay, see you soon. Bye.
Bye.